The political commentator Jason Epstein is here. Jason, thanks so much indeed for coming into the studio. So apparently Donald Trump tried to get the vote on the events of World War I delayed. There were a few Republican staunch supporters of his in the Senate who had tried on his behalf, but he failed. It's now passed. But is it anything more than symbolism?
If this had been, thank you for having me, by the way, if this had been a year ago, 2 years ago, let alone 10 years ago, I think we'd be talking about a rupture in the bilateral relationship. But there are so many other controversies today that I wouldn't necessarily call this just a hiccup, but it's not a thunderclap.
Is it a thunderclap, though, the threat of sanctions? Because the Senate has approved the resolution, the bill, actually, which is now going to go to a full vote in the Senate. And this, obviously, more than symbolism, has practical applications to it. The S-400 missile system that Ankara has bought from Russia, which Donald Trump continues to say, hey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan tried to buy it from President Obama. Trump will always have a go at Obama if he can, of course. And then the other issue, as far as the Senate is concerned, it appears to be slightly out of step with the president in terms of continuing to push for sanctions on Turkey, whereas the president seems to be a bit less willing to do that. But what happens if those sanctions go through then?
That would be much more serious. And the White House is expending much more energy on the issue of sanctions. The contrast with the two, one is a non-binding resolution, the other has real bite. So expect that the White House will do everything it can to ensure that even if the measure goes through, that it's not going to, that any veto is not overridden. And I would imagine that Ankara is also very much aware of this and understands the priorities that are needed.
What's your impression about what's going on in the minds of senators who vote against Turkey launching a military operation to secure its own borders? The YPG is this terror group that's fighting alongside the Americans to defeat Daesh. But it seems from afar that Americans think YPG, okay, they're Kurds, so therefore they're heroes.
Look, there's an absence of knowledge, and some of the blame has to be placed squarely on Ankara's shoulders. There has been a lack of an effort to educate on this particular issue. And on the U.S. side, there's a lot of sentimentality and, as you imply, a lack of understanding about the difference between different groups of Kurds. We've seen Barzani representing the KRG in Ankara sitting next to President Erdogan. That gets lost in Washington, even among folks in the foreign policy community, not just your average Politico. It's just on the genocide resolution. It's important to note, yes, Senator Bob Menendez, a Democrat from New Jersey, for decades has been pushing this issue. But his co-sponsor, it's very interesting, Senator Ted Cruz from Texas, has been a long-time backer of the bilateral relationship. I think that his decision to not just endorse this concept, but also be an original co-sponsor relates directly to the Pastor Brunson scandal or Pastor Brunson controversy from last year, and has just soured a lot of normally pro-Turkey lawmakers in both the Senate and the House, and that should be understood.
Jason, really, really good to see you. Thankfully, you're in Istanbul and you agreed to be our guest. So thanks a lot and look forward to the next time. Jason
Pleasure's
Epstein.
mine. Thank you.